We've had a historic election. Many new members, mostly Republican in the House, significant gains in the Senate on the Republican side. An entirely new situation from what we had before us in 2010. Many of these members won on issues associated with energy, principally a climate bill, and the state of our regulatory environment as it relates not only to energy but environmental policy and the basic regulatory structure that affects American business. I think the opinion on the part of House Republicans is they're for energy and they're for production. They're also for renewables. Essentially, they're for all of the above. And what I mean by that is, let's move forward and do something on a range of energy issues. But the dilemma that accompanies that kind of approach is, what do you do to incentivize the development of renewables? What do you do to incentivize the development of carbon capture and storage associated with advanced coal use? What do you do with respect to transmission? What do you do with respect to the development of nuclear power, a good portion of which needs subsidies in today's environment? I don't believe that the House Republican leadership is moving in the direction of providing subsidies. I think the approach will be more of a market-based approach, seeing what makes sense, and to really focus on production. That's their emphasis. I think the Senate is going to address energy and environmental issues in a completely different manner. Democrats remain in control, albeit by a small number, but Jeff Bingaman, who is the chairman of the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, will take a hard look, I believe, at a range of energy issues, not just associated with the oil spill that occurred in the Gulf, but he's going to take a look at perhaps moving something akin to a clean energy standard or a cleaner energy standard. Something similar, but more expansive than the approach that he was able to champion 2 years ago involving a renewable electricity standard. Sounds similar, a little bit different. The clean energy standard would have to include something associated with nuclear, carbon capture and storage, plus the traditional push on renewables, both solar and wind, and something associated with natural gas. We're a nation of 50 states. In the energy world, a one-size-fits-all approach has proved unsuccessful. There's diversity in our country. There's a difference of approach and emphasis in California, a different emphasis and approach in New England, as there is in Florida, the desert Southwest, and in the Midwest. The role that the government needs to play, in my opinion, at the federal level, is to be a partner. Not just a cheerleader, but a partner. Public-private partnerships are absolutely critical as it relates to both our energy policy and our environmental policy. Other governments in other countries work with their energy industries to put them in a position to be competitive, not only in an international context, but to be in a position to provide low-cost supplies to their consumers. Our government should be no different, in my opinion. Our government has had a history of involvement in the development of energy all the way from the beginning of the nuclear age. There have been subsidies associated with nuclear power. There have been subsidies associated with oil and gas drilling. The government has played a role as a partner. I see no reason why that needs to stop. In fact, if anything, it needs to probably accelerate. California has a proposed rule with respect to renewable energy development. There is a very large push, in great part fueled by the unions, that the renewable energy that California would consume should be produced in California. It's jobs. I think it's a misguided policy, frankly. And I think it's misguided because there are a range of lower cost renewable resources that are outside of California that would benefit the consumers of California. Because at the end of the day, it's about cost. What's cost effective and what's cost effective for the consumer. We have resources located in Wyoming, in Montana, in the form of wind, and really significant resources. We're not talking about 5 to 1,000 megawatts of wind. We're talking 8 to 10,000 megawatts of wind that can be harnessed and effectively delivered over high voltage transmission lines to markets like Las Vegas, to Phoenix, and certainly to California. And Wyoming is the low-cost provider for wind. They need to get those resources delivered, and also for California consumers to be in a position to benefit from them. The ring fencing, as I would call it, on the part of California to essentially treat itself as an island, I think is misguided. I think it will be destructive to the renewable industry, because this is a regional problem. This isn't just California as an island. Consumers across the region need to benefit, not just from the renewable development, but the transmission that would accompany the development of those resources.